This is Brother Jamal coming to you again with another video in regards to maintaining justice. We've been doing a series of videos since the protests and since the murder of George Floyd. We've been doing a series of videos entitled Maintaining Justice, and just kind of sharing with you about what Allah commands us to do in maintaining justice. Allah commands us in maintaining justice that when we judge between people and individuals, we have to always judge with fairness. That's a commandment from Allah, what Allah is commanding us to do. Anytime that we judge between people, it has to be done with fairness. If it's not done with fairness, then how can there be a just judgment? How can there be a just ruling if the basis of it is not fairness? It can't be. It's going to be based on everything but fairness. So that's our that's kind of our subject and our topic that we continue to talk about. The let me say this message. I really want to send this to the protesters and the young people across the country who are involved in a movement against social injustice, a movement against oppression, and a movement against institutionalized racism. And understand that these long range things that the movement is struggling against is these are things that have been with us since I would say 1990. I could go back further than that, but at least the early 90s they've been with us. Social injustice, oppression, and institutionalized racism. These things have been with us. Now, people from other parts of the world, from other countries, looking in from the U.S., from the outside, some people who have came here during that period of time. Now, 18 countries around the world acknowledge what I'm saying. They acknowledge this. 18 countries are in solidarity with the struggle against social injustice, against oppression, against institutionalized racism. These 18 countries acknowledge these things that are happening inside the U.S. to its black citizens. See? So this is extremely important. This is what Malcolm talked about, how when you extend the civil rights movement to a human rights movement where the people outside the U.S. can identify, can be in solidarity with your struggle. And this is precisely what has happened. As I said, I repeat myself again, 18 countries are in solidarity with the struggle and the movement that's going on inside the U.S. against social injustice, against oppression, and against institutionalized racism. I see so many foolish people talking, black, white, men, women, male, female, you name it, talking crazy like they talking out of both sides of their mouth, like they talking like they got two heads on their body, on one body like they got two heads. And some of the stuff they saying is the most ridiculous, and they really should be embarrassed about saying some of the things they're saying. These are black folks. See, black folks talking crazy as all get up. But when I understand when Malcolm talked about the house Negro and the field Negro, I understand what he was talking about and how he broke that thing down. How these house Negroes, they care more about their master than they care about themselves. When the master is sick, they say, we sick. They don't say the master's sick. They say, we sick, which they include themselves with the master when they say, we sick. You know? So you understand the mindset of a house Negro. He always includes himself with his master. Whatever it is, It's we, not the master and the house Negro, but he includes himself with his master. So these house Negroes that you see on TV, that's wearing these "Make America Great" hats. Everything they talk about is making America great. Those are the sick ones. Those are the ones that have been infected with a disease called house Negro. That's a disease that they have been infected with. I mean, seriously, in the psychic of their mind, in the psychic of their being, their soul, they have been infected with the house Negro syndrome. That's what they've been infected with. You know? So understand that all of this carries us back to, I said 1990. I could go back further than that, but I'll just leave it at that, at 1990. There's no such thing as police reform, because if it was the same thing that we were talking about in 1990, here we are talking about in 2020. Police reform. It doesn't work. You can throw it out, get it off the table. It ain't even in a discussion, because it does not work. And if it was working, we still wouldn't be talking about this problem that we're talking about today, with the police slash white supremacist groups murdering our people. And now it's done went to another level where they're lynching people, where they're actually lynching people. You know, black men, black women, black kids, you name it. They're lynching black people actually in today's time. The other message I want to send to the protesters out there, here in the morning hour and wherever you may be, it's real important that you be extremely aware of your surroundings, especially the ones that's in leadership position, the ones that are leading the protests, the ones that are organizing all this, males, females, young people. I encourage you to be aware of your surroundings. That's extremely important, because what you find out and what's happening is they try to snatch the organizers up, they try to snatch the leaders up, and all of a sudden they disappear, or you end up something happening to them, or they'll have some accident. In fact, they'll end up, we'll hear about them and they'll find them somewhere murdered, somewhere dead. That's what will happen. So I say once again to all the brothers and sisters out there, all the young people who are involved in the protests, and whether you're in leadership or not, just be aware of your surroundings, because when you go out to protest and demonstrate, then there's always some informers, there's always some agents, there's always some informers that be in those crowds. Oftentimes they be in the crowd, and their job is to try to find somebody they can snatch up, protester, demonstrator. It could be a male or female. They don't care. Take them off, torture them, take them off, beat them, take them off, and then murder. This is what's happening. This is what's going on in today's time, especially in the protests. As the more the protest intensifies, and more as it begins to expose individuals, and it begins to expose places. And let me tell you something. The places that house, you have some businesses that they display institutional racism. They have a history of being racist towards black people. Those places are beginning to be exposed. Those places are beginning to be put on Front Street. And once that begins to happen, then you see them trying to retaliate by trying to snatch up protesters, maybe trying to run over protesters, maybe even try to do some crazy act to the demonstrators, to the protests. But that happens. The other thing I want to encourage people that's marching and protesting at these rallies, if you know some of these police officers who have murdered people, they are walking around and acting casual, acting like normal. They ain't supposed to be acting casual. They ain't supposed to be out walking around. If you see them in public place, you're supposed to confront them, supposed to expose them, let everybody know who they are, let them know that they're corrupt, let them know that they're crooked. They're not supposed to be walking around just like normal people. No, they're not, because they have committed a serious crime of murder where they've taken somebody's life, and they should be exposed to the fullest degree. I say it again, I continue to repeat myself. You know the name of some of these corrupt cops? Take a rally and a protest to their house. Take it right to where they stay at. Expose them. Once again, I repeat myself. If you know the name, find out the place where they stay, You take a rally and protest right to their house and expose them for what they are and who they are. If they are involved in corruption, if they have murdered somebody, and some of these cops are out on bail, then you're supposed to make it real uncomfortable for them. You're supposed to make it real hot for them. It means going to their house, means putting their address out here on social media, their name, exposure, the whole thing. That's what you're supposed to do. They ain't supposed to have no peace. See? Especially if they've taken somebody's life and murdered somebody. So once again, I wanted to bring you this message. We're still talking about no justice, no peace, forward together, backwards never. And we're talking about maintaining justice, the way that you maintain justice. I repeat it, same things I opened this video up. If you are to maintain justice, you have to maintain justice by judging, always judging in fairness. Always. If you cannot judge in fairness, then there can be no justice. There can be no peace. There won't be any. If you cannot, the way and the substitute of how you maintain justice is to always judge in fairness. Always judge in fairness, in a fair way, in a just way. Otherwise, leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't even mess with it. Just get out the way. Once again, you have been listening to this video. I'm your host, Brother Jamal. This video is entitled Maintaining Justice.